A warm welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel, guys. Hope you're doing well. It's a good day today. The black peril's running. She's not overheating. All the fans are working. It's not blowing on the exhaust. The red peril's running. Still got a few niggles with that I'm working on. But it's a good day detailing wise, because this turned up in the post. Now, Autoglym ultra high definition wax. This is not just in my top 10 kind of Hall of Fame waxes, but it may be the best all-round kind of pace wax, I think, for putting on your car. You know, and there's not a lot in it, and it can come down to personal preference, but we'll talk about that wax a bit later on. We've already talked a lot about it on the channel. Very good pace wax. When you buy the pace wax, you get these applicators with it, these Autoglym applicators, and I just remembered they were really good. Why? Because the top part of it is very stiff foam. It's very stiff. There's a bit of give on it. Obviously, it's still foam, but it's almost like a cutting pad on top, you know, with the coarser kind of stiff foam, and then very fine foam on the bottom. And the reason they do that is because if it was all very fine foam, waxes are a bit heavier as a product, they're a bit waxy, you get a bit more drag when you apply them. And the applicators, if they're all soft, they can sort of just marshmallow out a little bit too much. So really, yes, the perfect applicator is kind of stiffer on top, or has, you know, some sort of holdall thing, or, you know, because there's plastic handle ones that Velcro on or whatever, but you know, you can chuck these in the washing machine, I think. Well, you don't really need to. You could just wash them. But a stiffer foam on top and a softer foam on the bottom is a good way to go. But in particular, the reason I wanted these applicators is because they fit into most of the pots that I've got wax-wise. So they're the right size for most pots of wax that I have. You know, it's going to be ideal for that size. It's going to be ideal for that size. It will even go in a bigger one, you know, but there's a bit of play. So yes, you know, it's not going to be the ideal size for everyone when they start getting bigger. I'll talk about that. Well, I'll talk about that now, actually. That's one reason I kept this flex wax applicator for when they're giant pots of wax and you can get in there and you can get over the car really quick. Although that is very soft because it's not two types of foam, but yeah, you get away with it. And I also always kept these Adams ones as well for the same reason: stiffer foam on top, finer foam on the bottom. I've had these for years, but unfortunately they won't go into those pots because they're just too big. They might be designed for Adams's ones, you know, Adams paste waxes. So yeah, the first thing is you want these to be able to go into the pot. You can get away with it when the pot's full and new, being a bit bigger. But as you get down, go through the wax and you've got to go into the jars, if it's bigger, you end up tilting it in and you've got to twist the thing around. And it just, yes, it's all tiny little things, but I've spent over like £1,000 on various paste waxes there, which isn't a normal thing to do. But it was done for nostalgia, it was done for fun. And when you spend that sort of money, you don't want to be then sort of bodging it with the applicator side. So just having a good wax applicator, I think, is important. 10 years ago, I think, as a detailing brand, when everyone was still using paste waxes really, or they were still very dominant, I think having good applicators for your paste wax would have been critical. Nowadays, waxes aren't so prevalent, so I'm not sure about how essential it is to have a good applicator. But if you've got a good paste wax, I think you should have a good applicator to go with it. Now, I would love it if Autoglym sold these, but I'm not sure. If you give one away with your wax, you're kind of covered, really. So there may not be the commercial viability nowadays to sell wax applicators. I don't know, and maybe that's why it isn't. But I still look at these applicators and I think if you sold a box with even 2 or 4 of these on, like I would pay like £8.99 or £9.99 for a box with these 2 on, because I'd spend 20 quid and I'd get 4 applicators, and then I'd know I've got the ones that I want and I'm sorted. Yes, you can go on AliExpress and get all these sorts of things cheap. But when you know what you're looking for and you want the right one, then yeah, I would have gone and bought these ones. So I'm over the moon that Autoglym has sent them to me, and that's really kind of them as well. And it's forcing me to just tidy up my wax applicators, which I kind of like doing in a strange way. And I think, like I say, I've kept all the good ones. And if these Geon ones, an example that they work with the Geon applicators, so they're not going to be ideal for these other pots. But I've kept these because, again, they've been made specifically for their product, and that's an extra level of care, isn't it? You can develop a paste wax, but then when you go and develop an applicator as well, I think that means, to me, that means that you mean business as a brand, because you're trying to get the whole end-to-end experience just right. So moving on to Autoglym Ultra High Definition Wax. Why is this? I think this was overall, when I whittled them down, was the number one, wasn't it? Why? Well, paste wax is a really personal kind of thing, and I've got a variety of different paste waxes in there. What the Autoglym wax, ultra high definition wax, does really well, and not all wax makers have figured out how to do, including me, if I could put myself in that category as someone that's tried to do this, is make a wax that when the solvent system vaporizes away from the wax and the wax cures and dries, you're left with a dry wax film that buffs off the panel without having the oil still in there and the grease. And what I tend to find is that the bigger wax makers that have been doing this for longer, commercial kind of grade wax makers, have figured out and solved this problem, and perhaps smaller wax makers haven't, because it's harder to solve. And they'll use a cocktail of waxes, of solvents, a heavier solvent, a lighter solvent. The heavier solvent so it can stay in there longer, vape out slower, but keep it more dissolved than a lighter solvent, and a lighter solvent to vape quickly to give you some faster curing as well. So that kind of getting that right balance of the solvent system. But also it's like the eradication or the minimizing the amount of oil that you put into a wax blend, or if it's not an oil, a lubricant that stays in there, so some sort of carrier that stays in there. It could be a silicon oil, or it could be a number of oils. If you have those in there, and you have quite a lot of that, even if the solvent system goes away, the wax film that you leave on the car can still be like translucent and slimy and oily, because it's a non-volatile material that's within the wax blend. And that non-volatile material, if you have those in waxes, they're the things that can attract dust. They're the things that can grease up in the hot summer months that make the waxes smeary, and perhaps even though easy to buff, but more risk of smear marks and greasy marks with waxes. So having a proper dry curing system where you put the wax film out and it dries, and then you buff this light film of wax off the car to a shine without having to chase out any oiliness, is a kind of cool thing. And like I say, not everyone's figured out how to do that really well, including me. Now, yeah, so there's lots of waxes that I've had recommended to me that I've tried, and then I use them, and just straight away I'm like, no, because it doesn't have that, and that's kind of what I look for. There is the exception to that I have some in my Hall of Fame. I have some waxes that are the complete opposite of what I've just said. For example, the Treble 2 wax is very oily, and it's very slidey, and it's very buttery, and the application's nice, but it doesn't really cure that well. You've got to buff it carefully, and you've probably got to go back over it again and get it all. But they look great because of that oil in there, and they're almost like a show wax category. But as well, if they don't have a fully volatile system in them, and they leave oil, yes, they are dust magnets, and they'll also be easily or more easily emulsified with detergent, and they'll wash off the car more. So what Autoglym I think have done with the UHD wax, and yeah, this is a bit of a homage to it. It's a bit of a homage, but it's nothing I haven't said before. They managed to make a commercial wax which was very well presented, and it was like a perfect pour. There's no like chunks in it or bubbles in it. It was just an ice rink in there. I can't get it open. Hold on. Ugh. This is used now, but you know, a balm-like wax. They use the refined, bleached white carnauba, so you don't get that impure yellowness. You can't see any evidence of anything other than a kind of white, pure balm. So it looks like a really well presented kind of wax as well. They've used a bespoke jar that's, you know, that's you could drop and it won't smash. It's not glass, but it also feels solid and well made. Just everything about this wax is really, really cool. They've also made it really hydrophobic, so it beads like any other beady product, modern beady products, you know, non-waxes, spray waxes that can really bead up. It can outbead all of those, you know, so it's a very beady wax that you put on your car. So I just think it's a home run. It lasts well as well. It doesn't wash off the car. Yes, I think modern products can outlast it. Even Autoglym's ceramic spray, which I've still got in the cupboard, maybe on paper will last a bit longer. You know, it's quicker to apply. There's all different formats now, and the market's shifted off loads of different ways, and there are reasons why you might not use paste waxes. In fact, I will do a video on all of that sort of stuff. But as far as paste waxes go, I think that's a real home run product, and it's really high end as well, which is cool. Yeah, so you can see what I was talking about with the design. So now that when I'm using this particular wax, what have I done with it? What have I done with the one applicator that I had out? I must have taken one out. If I put it back in the bag, 2, 4, 6, 8, no, there's one floating around somewhere. What have I done with it? Oh, there it is. Look, it's hiding there. Yeah, so look at the way it just fits in that pot perfectly. I don't want to get wax on it. So now I know I'm going to be able to use all of that without kind of having to kind of do anything kind of silly and kind of grab up and down and get it on the edge of one applicator. So that will just mean that when I'm putting the waxes down, it will be proper. It will be a proper job. There we go. So yeah, with waxes, with paste waxes nowadays, I'll delve into this in another video, but I tend to use them when I want to spend a bit of time in the garage with the car and get some tunes on, and like, you know, that's bust out the wax, put it on, just take my time. And yes, it takes a bit longer. Yes, it does. You know, it might take me, I might be in the garage an hour waxing the car, as opposed to I could put some detail spray on as drying aid, and it might, you know, it will keep protection going. And some of them are so turbocharged it could probably even compete with the UHD wax on durability. Yes, I can use, you know, like a Polar Seal type product, spray it on my car after I've washed it, and you've got all this choice, and there's pros and cons for all of them. We've done videos on all of that as well, but I tend to want to use them when I want to spend time in the garage on the car, because I find that a pleasant thing to do and a pleasant way to spend like a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday morning. Still to this day, yes, like having the paintwork good is your fundamental. So this car will always look good. If I didn't have any protection on it, it would still look the same in this camera. But there is something about putting a paste wax on, getting that application good, giving it that final buff, and getting the car out and looking at it. And that moment after that wax has been applied and it's buffed really gives you a hell of a good look on the car. Perhaps maybe even more so in terms of transformation effect when you're not applying them to cars that are all shiny and glossy anyway. But if you take a car, like especially on the Red Peril, after I've washed that, like I notice when I put on other protection products, even if it's a detail spray, and just give it that buff, it brings the paint up shiny. So like the more weathered the paint is, the more the wax will bring it up. So if you're average cars, you really notice after you've applied a paste wax, you've buffed it all to a shine, that the car will be buzzing, which is part of it. It's part of it. Sometimes in life, spending the time and enjoying it to get the rewards is a really, really cool thing. So yeah, that's a little homage to Autoglym for sending me this stuff. Yeah, and Autoglym for me are a fantastic kind of British brand that have been doing this since day dot. And yeah, they have products on my shelf. Even today, if I come over here, I don't think this won my trim dressing. I think it might have come second or third or something. But then doing the trim dressing mega test thing reminded me how good their rubber and vinyl dressing was. Not because it's the most durable. Don't even think it's the most cost effective, because that's a concentrate. But it never lets me down. So I wanted to get a litres worth of it and use it. And it just puts a sheen on plastics and rubber. That's it. That's all it does. Just puts a little sheen on it. So if it's looking a bit tired, you just dress it and it sharpens it up. I was using it the other day in the back of the E36 under the boot, where all the plastic trims just all looked a bit messy and mucky from having stuff in the boot. So I cleaned them off, spray that onto a little applicator, just go over those trims and the little plastic innards on the lights. And it just made them look darker and not wet and shiny and greasy, but just puts a slight richness to it. Yeah, so it's a very simple product, but it's one that it's an example of something that I'd have kicking around. So yeah, I'll always have some super resin polish as well. I've got a little Autoglym stash in there where I've got, what have I got in my stash? I know I've got one, still got that original pot, which I'm going to claim in that corner there. I'm going to claim that box is the last ever box Autoglym gave out for their factory. I don't know if it's the last off the production line, but they gave me that after this had been removed from sale. And if I ever get a chance to get them to put a squiggle on it, I will, because that'd mean a lot to me. And I've still got the old bottle of super resin polish that I refuse to throw away. That's not the latest version. And I've got the new latest version there, but I'm determined to use all of that. That bottle has got to be 15 years old, but it still works. What's that? Extra gloss protection there, solvent wax emulsion, super resin polish, refresh. I've kept that as well. Even that one didn't do too well in my test. That come last. It was the most expensive. But another good thing about Autoglym is you can talk about their products. You can talk about their products and give an opinion on it, and win, lose or draw. There's never any drama in the comments. There's never like 5,000 people. In fact, not a single person would complain about the fact that the price didn't matter with that coming last. But other ones that were in the middle of the field who were expensive, there'd be like loads of comments saying, well, it's okay that it's this price. But you don't get that with the bigger brands, because they've been around a lot longer and they're more mature, I think. So yeah, fantastic company, fantastic wax. I'm now going to arrange these in a nice little pile in here, get all my little applicators and foam things where they should be, organised and ready to go. And then that means when you're doing the job, you're not reaching for mucky old equipment that's not quite fit for purpose. And that's part of the fun. So a huge thank you for them for sending me those. And I would definitely consider, it's probably commercials. They know their market, and the commercials of selling separate wax applicators, I don't know, but I still think with Autoglym, what you could offer them on your website and they wouldn't need to go in Halfords. So I think you'd find quite a few people would buy those. Yeah, but it's not going to be a massive commercial thing, but I think it'd be a nice to have, because they have really good wax applicators. So there we go, guys, a little one for the Unplugged channel today, and that's made my day, that has. Take care.